We got all kinds of audio coming in today, too, Fezzi. Supposedly, your good buddy Flipper is sending us some outtakes from Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown fighting somewhere.
Yeah, this was supposedly taking place in a recording studio in Atlanta.
He doesn't want all those details out.
Oh, okay.
Since it's been lifted, but that's a little too late. Unfortunately, we can't dump out on satellite radio. So let's just say it's from a recording studio somewhere.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Somewhere in this planet.
Found his way out. And right now, a nice boy is being fired from a job that he was really excited about having. But anyway, maybe Flip will call us with it later. Right now, Eastside Dave is wrestling with putting the audio together.
Nancy Grace, she's saying her show on CNN is not at fault after a Florida woman whose 2-year-old was abducted from her home shot herself to death a day after she was grilled on TV by Nancy Grace.
So she shot herself to death.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go over, let's tell the story first. So supposedly this woman is watching TV. She's got a newborn baby, a couple weeks old.
2 years old.
2 years old, okay. So supposedly while she's watching a movie on TV, right, someone cuts open the screen door to the window down there in Florida. Of course, there's no such thing as a window. It's holes. Because if you shut a window, everybody in the house dies. So they slice through and this is the woman's story, they slice through the screen, grab the baby, she comes back to check on the baby later, boom, it's gone. Nancy Grace is not falling for this story, right?
No, the woman went on Nancy Grace's CNN show probably not quite 2 weeks after the alleged abduction.
Yeah.
And Nancy Grace was just really trying to get some information out of her.
Now, I didn't see this, but I read on the front page of AOL today that Nancy Grace was literally pounding on the desk, screaming at this woman. Now, I guess she figures the woman knows what happened to the child, or is somehow involved with the, or did something awful to the child herself. The point is, though, what if she's wrong? What if there is any possibility, since Nancy Grace is not judge and jury, that you're screaming at a woman or yelling at a woman or accusing a woman who's just had a baby kidnapped?
Yeah, and probably went on CNN thinking, this might be a good way to get the word out, my child is missing. Here's his picture, national audience.
Yeah.
Maybe someone could help me with this. And instead she got the Inquisition.
Well, let's take, we got some of the audio. Let's take a listen, because I haven't seen it myself.
Where were you? Why aren't you telling us where you were that day? You were the last person to be seen with him.
And we've already gone out and distributed the flyers and spoken.
Right. Why aren't you telling us and giving us a clear picture where you were before your son was kidnapped?
Because I'm not going to put those kind of details out.
Why?
Because I was told not to.
Miss Duckett, you're not telling us for a reason. What is the reason? You refuse to give even the simplest facts of where you were with your son before he went missing. It is day 12.
With all media. It's not just there, just of all media, period.
That's none of your fucking business. This is a police matter, not a CNN matter.
She really does think she's the woman from Murder, She Wrote, that she's going to actually go out and solve this case.
Well, I did see, I think it was on YouTube, the one that she was going over that little girl who was abducted out in Utah.
Elizabeth Smart.
And the basic premise there is she was looking for details about what exactly happened to her.
Yeah, I think she was really looking for any sort of sexual details.
Right, something that the viewers at home could jack off to. While you were away, did he perform oral on you? Just fucking hideous.
With this woman, Melinda Duckett is the woman who's now, since then, committed suicide. I think she was really trying to think, if I hammer her enough on my show, I'm going to get a live confession.
Fez, I almost committed suicide just hearing a woman who lost her kid being screamed at. They call us shock jocks. That's my job, Nancy Grace. I'm the shock jock around here.
So here's Nancy Grace's statement since the suicide happened.
Her only statement was this: good.
I do not feel that our show is to blame for what happened to Melinda Duckett. The truth, Stan, is not always nice or polite or easy to go down. Sometimes it's harsh and it hurts. I'd like to also point out that Melinda committed suicide before that interview ever aired.
What?
I thought she was going to try to say she committed suicide before the interview.
So the last person she talked to was Nancy Grace?
That's what it sounds like. Yeah, the next day the woman shot herself in the head.
Unbelievable. Now, you got two gimmicks to this. Number one, maybe the woman felt so terrible about her kid disappearing, she did this to herself. Number two, she had something to do with the child being gone. But, like, she would be the connection to this, and now she's gone. You know what I mean? Like, if there's any trail now to follow this kid, it's a little bit cold.
Right. If she did have something to give up, there's no way of getting it from her.
Jeff, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, buddies.
Hey, buddy boy.
Hey, I saw that interview. That broad was going crazy. You should have seen her psycho Nancy Grace eyes. And now the funny thing is she's backpedaling so hard like she had nothing to do with it. I mean, she hammered that girl so hard, and then I guess the girl killed herself, and then they still aired the interview later on that night.
So they knew that the woman was already dead and then aired the interview.
That's bizarre.
I don't know if they knew she was dead, but she did the interview first, and then the report said she killed herself. But man, she's taken no responsibility for for the way she treated her. It's just ridiculous.
Well, again, I guess she can't be held responsible. You're allowed to say whatever you want to say in this world, but at some point, we're human beings, aren't we? Some of us are human beings, and maybe we start acting like it occasionally.
I don't know if that applies to Nancy Grace. And even in her statement of this isn't our fault, she was telling that person the truth hurts. So she's still convicting the woman even after she's committed suicide.
Well, why don't you dig the body up right now and put it on a lie detector? The only thing you do, you fucking vampire. Hey, Jerry, you're on Ron and Fez.
Yeah, I used to listen to this cut on Court TV, and she's just full of herself. Her boyfriend, I believe, was killed or maybe killed himself for going out with her about 10 years ago, and that's all she could talk about.
I'm sure most people that run into her kill themselves at one point or another. I would like to see a trail right now. She's like the Typhoid Mary of suicide. You're on a bus with this woman, you're cutting your own throat.
You never want to have her interview the Pope or anything.
Yeah.
We'll end up losing him.
She needs a sidekick to just go like this. Nancy, this woman's child is missing. Maybe you ought to fucking chill a little bit. And you're not a cop.
Could you please quit pounding the desk at her?
If a cop was doing that, everybody would think the cop was out of their mind. But you can do this on CNN.
She thinks she's a cop. That's got to be it. And she has...
We wouldn't put up with a cop screaming at a woman whose kid disappeared. You would look like fucking Rodney King got his ass beat again. No offense, Earl. Stop. Put the fucking fist down. Anytime I say Rodney King, the black fist goes up in the air. Black power salute.
And one of the creepier things about Nancy Grace is that lady evangelist voice of hers.
I have no idea who she is. I don't watch her. The only thing I saw was her on YouTube trying to get that little girl to talk about what exactly happened to her physically while she was being raped. And this thing. So I'm just catching, highlights as much as I can.
And how did you see out of that burqa? That was one of the insane questions Nancy Grace asked Elizabeth Smart.
Here is Kevin. Kevin, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hello, Jets. What's up?
Yeah.
Nancy Grace, I guarantee you every word that's coming out of her mouth is straight from the legal department of the network, because it may not leave her open to a criminal liability, but civil liability. She'd miss anything.
Forget about a criminal or a lawsuit. How about just being a person? How about just figuring, A, we're not having CNN run around and try to solve crimes. We have people to take care of that. And B, be a fucking person.
She's not able to do that, Ronnie. Then that's not Nancy Grace's style. That in-your-face style that people have come to expect.
Has she got a lot of viewers? Is she big on CNN?
No, I don't think she's even big on CNN. Among CNN shows.
Bill, you're on Ron Fez.
2875.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Earl, if you're following everything that David Letterman does, who's going to win the chase for the championship? All the NASCAR drivers were on last night.
don't follow everything that's on Letterman. I've been a fan of this band for years.
But why did you wait till the band does Letterman before you feel like you got to play him on XM?
I didn't even know they were doing Letterman. I'm a big fan of the band. I heard the record. I love the record. And I thought it'd be a great way to open the show.
You were the guy who broke Crazy.
Well, I don't want to take credit for that.
How'd you come up with the Gnarls Barkley? How were you on top of that?
Well, you told me about it.
No, Kathleen from the Bronx. Oh, look, he's backpedaling too.
No, I'm not back.
He's back. He always tries to diss her, Fez. He always tries to diss her.
I don't know what there is, some sort of competition between Earl and Kathleen from the Bronx. Maybe he thinks she knows a little bit more about music than him.
Well, she gets it first. He waits to Letterman. Steve, you're on Run of Fez.
Yeah, boys, in a related story, Jack Lemmon's son was so distraught after his interview with Fez that he actually changed the name of his book to Taste of Lemon.
Remember that, Fez? You fucked up an interview?
Chris Lemon was in here talking about his book about his dad, A Twist of Lemon. I screwed it up on Earl's footnotes, telling me that the name of the book was Taste of Lemon.
Fred, you're on the Run of Fez show.
Yo, what's up, boys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear through the grapevine.
Yeah.
The last phone call Kurt Cobain made?
Yeah.
Nancy Grace.
See, that's awful, Fez. Kurt Cobain, he spends a couple minutes talking to Nancy Grace, blows his own hat off. It's awful what she does.
Kurt, tell me, where were you? Where were you when grunge started tonight? Kurt, where are you?
She's got to be stopped. She can't go on like this. It can't keep happening.
She needs to be registered as a deadly weapon.
Nobody should talk to this Nancy Grace, because she will not leave you alone. Look what she did to this woman. Look what she did to Kurt Cobain. It's too much. 866-RON-0-FEZ. 866-RON-0-FEZ. Doug, you're on Run of Fez.
Yeah, if this is the end result, can we have this woman interviewed George Bush? Yeah.
You know what? I think you're breaking a law by that, sir. You're breaking a law right now.
Just by saying that a president should go on Nancy Grace seems like a real threat. There's nothing to say. She's not admitting any guilt. She thinks she has nothing to do with this. She's one of those unremorseful serial killers.
Yeah, she doesn't know. Why? There's remorseful serial killers out there, Fez?
Usually after they get caught and they do their prison interview,
yeah,
sometimes they say, yeah, I did a bad thing. Kind of like a David Berkowitz does, and then he wants to help people change their lives.
Oh, David Berkowitz is born again. He's not only born again, Fez, that there's some people who think that he is now an apostle of God. Did you know that?
No, I had no idea.
That's in the new New York magazine. You know who also Nancy Grace did an interview with? Wendy O. Williams. Wendy O. Williams. It's awful what this woman's able to pull off. Here is Dan. Dan, you're on Run of Fez.
Hey, I heard Phil Hartman's wife was talking to Nancy Grace when she shot him in herself.
See, that's awful, Fez. I remember that. It was a Mother's Day thing she did with Phil Hartman's wife. 12 hours later, the entire family was gone.
Bree Hartman, yeah, and Bree Hartman wouldn't have even gotten that many interviews.
We got any cheeses, any Brees, anything at all, Earl?
No, not at all.
Fucking starving around here.
No soft cheese.
Yeah. What I like to do is have something to eat during the show occasionally. Pat, you're on Run of Fez.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Yeah.
Is she hot? I'm just trying to worry. Is she a batchable type of personality? You know what I mean? Can you whip out a batch on her?
Well, I mean, I think just about any woman on TV you can run a quick batch to. So I wouldn't worry about that. But is she hot? No. I don't think so. Bobby, you're on Run of Fez. How are you, buddy? Bobby, you're on the Run of Fez show.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Yeah.
It's a little-known fact. It never did air that she also interviewed guys from Columbine.
See, I can't put up with that Nancy Grace, Fezzy. You know the last interview I even watched with her?
What's that?
Freddie Prinze Sr.
Oh.
After the Freddie Prinze Sr. interview, I said, I've had enough of this Nancy Grace.
Nancy Grace has killed again. A Florida woman who was missing a child shot herself the day after her interview with Nancy Grace aired.
That's too much. Don, you're on Run of Fez.
Hey, buddies. It's a little-known fact. Before she was on TV, she was a lawyer. It turns out her last client was Bud Dwyer.
See, that's terrible. It's just terrible.
Spokesman for the Dwyer campaign. Who's playing Nancy Grace in Hollywood Land?
Here's Eric. Eric, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Yeah, little known fact, Nancy Grace was Connor Peterson's godmother.
That's terrible. Well, you know what happened to him, Fez.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She got to him before he was even born.
You know, I asked her to drop off a package at Abby Hoffman's house. Last time I ever heard from him. Nancy fucking Grace. You can't stop her. She's like the plague right now, Fez.
She's a kiss of death. Nancy Grace, they say on CNN, it's the last interview you'll ever do.
They say that?
Yeah. That's how they plug her show.
That's, then that's a show I wouldn't want to do. I would turn it down. Ed, you're on Ron and Fez.
Yeah, I know Nancy Grace is from Texas, and I hear that was the last baby that Kennedy kissed before he got in the motorcade.
That's a mistake. Here's Robert. Robert, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, buddy. There's
Yeah.
a little known fact about that cunt. She was actually discussed on Family Feud.
Oh, Ray Combs, Fezzy.
Oh, came by with the Grace family. They stole the lead, and that was it for Ray Combs.
Poor Ray Combs. Nancy Grace.
He talked to her, and then next thing you know, he's hanging in a closet.
That's what he did?
I thought he hung himself.
You're thinking of his shirt.
Oh.
His shirt was hanging in the closet.
That's where they found it.
It wasn't like Hollywood was knocked on his ass when Ray Combs died. It wasn't like a big story.
Yeah, no one really...
No, he was alive. No, yeah. At that point, they had no idea he was alive.
I don't even think you saw a lot of those, we're leaving flowers out somewhere.
Why would you leave them?
I don't know. Whenever they shoot Family Feud?
That was already done, right? That's why he killed himself?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he was already over with.
Yeah, he killed himself because they canceled Family Feud. If I could brought it back like 6 months later with a fat guy. Gary, you're on the Ron and Fez show.
Hey, buddies. I heard about 10 years ago, Nancy Grace did a swimming pool segment with William Shatner and Tommy Lee.
Oh, yeah, because they had those kids.
Yeah, Shatner was his wife. Tommy Lee was supposed to be watching a kid.
Supposed to be.
Fun birthday party, Tommy. Thanks.
Paul, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, a little known piece of history. Nancy Grace interviewed the captain of the Titanic before he left.
All right, that's a stretch now. Zippy, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey, I hear the last concert she went to was an NXS show, and she went to a Hunter S. Thompson book reading.
Oh, see, that's terrible.
Yeah, she's trying to get these interviews, and look what happens.
Hunter Thompson, dead. Michael Hutchison, dead. When is CNN going to wake up to this? Nancy Grace.
They don't seem to put the pattern together yet.
I think before Sid Vicious dated Nancy Spungen, he dated Nancy Grace. So
interesting. Even Dave had a little joke there. I love it, Dave. You're on top of things today. Mike, you're on Ron and Fez.
Hey guys, what's up? BBC 12645.
Hoo-ah!
Thank you. Hey, I heard she was tutoring Tony Dungy's son.
Oh, that's terrible.
Awful. Dead.
Who?
Tony Dungy's son.
Oh, when I said terrible, I just thought the way they keep losing in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea he lost a son.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, last year.
Where were you, Tony? Where were you, Tony?
Boom.
Who would talk that way to somebody? It's fucking crazy.
She thinks she's got, like, the interrogation light on this woman, and she's going to crack her.
I'm going to tell you right now, the born-again retards are so right in this country. We are going to hell in a handbasket.
We had the shooting in Montreal yesterday.
Well, I'm talking about our country, Fez. Montreal, I expect those things to happen. Did you think Montreal was in the United States?
No, I knew it wasn't. At least not anymore.
Jim, you're on Ron and Fez. Well, lost you, buddy. Chuck, you're on Ron and Fez.
Yeah, little known fact. Never made the air, but Nancy Grace is the last person to interview Christopher Reeve.
I don't think he killed himself, did he?
No, I think that was some sort of pneumonia or infection.
Although I never bought that thing about him being paralyzed.
You didn't think he was paralyzed?
I have my own theory.
What's that?
Lazy. Play the Nancy Grace thing over, Fez, if you can make it through without shooting your own brains out. Ask him too much, buddy?
No.
Teabagger, you're on Run of Fez.
BAC 3209, buddies.
Hoo-ah!
Little known fact, a couple weeks ago, Nancy Grace interviewed the crocodile hunter.
Well, he didn't kill himself either. He was murdered by Stingray.
It's a little-known fact. Nancy Grace did one of the last interviews with Richard Manuel.
Oh, poor Richard Manuel. You know what Richard Manuel hung himself on? The fucking shower curtain rod. How much do you weigh if you could choke on a shower curtain rod? The guy's got to weigh the same amount as a shower curtain.
I can barely open and close mine without the whole thing coming down.
You can barely open and close the shower curtain. He bathes. Fez prefers a bath.
I think you get cleaner.
Yeah, sit in dirty water while your balls float. That's fucking clean. Dave, you're on Run of Fez. Do we got you, Dave? Lost you, pal. Let me go over here to Joe. Hey, Joe. Where are you going with that phone in your hand?
Hey, little known fact, Herbie Villachez interview. Very, very sad.
That is sad. That was the tiniest little suicide we ever had. Hervé Villachez. Did you hear how he killed himself, Ez?
No.
Jumped off a stool.
Oh.
Jumped off a stool.
There was no blood left in the body.
Where were you? Why aren't you telling us where you were that day? You were the last person to be seen with him.
And we've already gone out and distributed the flyers and spoken.
Right. Why aren't you telling us and giving us a clear picture where you were before your son was kidnapped?
Because I'm not going to put those kind of details out.
Why?
Because I was told not to.
Miss Duckett, you're not telling us for a reason. What is the reason? You refuse to give even the simplest facts of where you were with your son before he went missing. It is day 12.
With all media. It's not just there, just with all media, period.
That's fucking psycho behavior. You're not the cop. It's not your job to do this.
And she's got this, Nancy Grace has this whole scenario running out in her head where she's badgering this woman. The woman said, I was asked not to give these details out. Then, right after she says that, Nancy Grace goes, why won't you give these details out?
The whole time that she's doing this, she's interviewing Nancy Grace, she's fucking putting shells in a shotgun. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I was, Nancy. Believe me, I'm not going to have to deal with it. She's calling her mother. Come over to my house with a sponge. You'll see. Don't ask me why. You'll see. Brian, you're on Run of Fez.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah.
Little known fact, Nancy Grace was the last interview with Andrew Cunanan about his relationship with Versace.
Well, there you go. Did they have a relationship, Fez?
No, I think Versace was just stalked by Andrew Cunanan.
And he was one of the. Was he a crazy gay killer?
Yeah.
He was gay, or he just killed gays?
He was gay, and I think he killed gays.
Wow.
Yeah, gay on gay crime, I believe that was.
I didn't know there was a lot of that other than rape. I thought that's the main thing they do.
Sometimes it gets too rough and it goes too far.
That, and of course, they will mess up each other's hair. Here's Matt. Matt, you're on Run of Fez.
Hey, buddies. I was reading up Nancy Grace's maiden name, Yates.
Nice one. That's a wacky story, Fez.
Yeah, very much so. Christy Brinkley has filed for divorce from her fourth husband, Peter Cook, who cheated on her with the 19-year-old.
Fez, do you remember your...
Radio Psychic.
Where you said those two lovebirds would get back together? You guaranteed it.
Is that what I said?
Yes, you did.